Wanted to give you something here a little quick. Apologize, we didn't do a show last week. We were preparing for our trip to Washington, D.C., and then Simon couldn't make it for some reasons, and then Amos had a rib injury to where he couldn't sit, so asking him to sit, 2.5 hours for a podcast just really wasn't in the works. And we had an awful lot going on, so we didn't release one last weekend, and we're not going to be releasing one this week because our next episode is the 200th, and we want it to be really special, and we want to have Simon there and Amos there and Chip. And although we have 3 episodes in the hole right now, we've recorded this weekend in DC. I don't want to release it this week because I think a 200th episode again with our guys is the right way to do it. So I just want to thank you all for sticking around and for paying attention. And I just wanted to get this out here to you because you talk about it on social media sometimes, but you'd always don't get to see those posts or those comments. And I know so many of y'all tune in and listen, and we can't thank y'all enough for everything. If it weren't for y'all, we wouldn't have the opportunity or the necessity to go to Washington, D.C. and do the things that we did last week. But we had an absolute ball up there. Chip and I got to go tour the Capitol with Congressman Nancy Mace's head PR person. And I just want to say he was professional as all get out. Very bright young man. I believe he's only 23 years old, and he's already the head of her promotional team or whatever. And he's just phenomenal how talented this kid is. And he was very knowledgeable about the Capitol, gave us a great tour. We got to go, from her building under the streets, walk around the rotunda and do the whole deal and get to see it from a different perspective. I encourage anybody, if you have the opportunity, call up your congressman and see if their people can give you a private tour. It's so much better than walking around, I suppose, with a giant group of people and you don't get to really ask the questions that you would like to get to ask. And so that was really, really neat. We actually got to go into the House floor. We sat up in the balcony and watched the Den of Vipers down there doing their bidding. So that was pretty interesting. Couldn't get any photographs. They wouldn't allow us to take our phones in there, but it was something interesting to see, no less. And so we came back, and for the next couple of days at Students for Liberty conference, we met some really cool people, and we did video for the first time ever. And I've got to watch some of those videos, and they came out phenomenally great. I mean, our guy did such a good job. Shout out to him for coming down and for Chip for making all that happen. It looks really, really, really good. And that's another reason why we didn't want to release one of those shows this week is we do our 200th. It's probably going to be audio only next week. And after that, we're going to have these 3 video podcasts ready to go. And by the time they run their course, we should have our cameras set up in the studio and ready to start that next chapter of this show, which is incredibly an awesome feeling. I have never really been big about the video side of things. I always think there's something a little unique to the audio side, but the reality is you have to have video to be able to entice some of the people we'd like to come on the show to come, and for good reason. They're going to be coming down here and they're going to be experiencing our little corner of Appalachia, and they want the clips for their viewers, and we want to give them to them as well. We want people to be more and more excited and interested in coming to our area and spending money and maybe bringing their team and using our hotels and going to eat in our restaurants. And, as we said many times before, a rising tide raises all ships. So it's just the natural order of things. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to take that next step, and just to get to 200 episodes is unreal in itself. Something that I started as kind of a hobby to kind of give myself something to do and to have something for my kids to listen to one day. And who knows, I don't think I ever would have started this if I didn't think it could have got to this point, but it's still surreal, no less. And it still surprises me because we've had so many people help us along the way. So many people have done some wonderful things for us. And, on next week's show, our 200th episode, we'll get to that more in depth and more in detail and, talk about some of those people and how we got here. And there's also a phenomenal story. We had the forest fires here in Franklin County a couple of weeks ago, and there's something really awesome to be told from what happened there that night through all the people around here and the volunteers and the farmers and the loggers. And that's going to be a phenomenal story, and we'll be able to share then as well. So that's why we're not coming out with a show this week. We want it to be really, really special. I really hate not getting stuff out there to y'all because, for one, I enjoy it, but number two, you come back and you're expecting to hear something, and we just been working really, really hard to take this to the next level for you all. So we certainly appreciate sticking around and tuning in to hear my little, um, 10 minute or so talk just to kind of update you all. But like I said, the video side of things, it's not something that I had, really, really super look forward to. But this past weekend, it turned out really, really good. And if we can have something like that moving forward, we've got something really, really cool here in the works. And I'm super excited about the people who are, again, going to finally get to reach out to and say, hey, come up to the mountain, and they're going to have their clips, and we're going to have ours, and it's going to be a lot of fun getting Amos and Simon animated. And when you hear it on the audio side of things, it's one thing, but when you can see them and see their emotions and see them getting excited and stuff, that's the kind of stuff that really gets you interested. So I guess we're getting ready to turn the page on a new chapter in this whole deal. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the prospects and the things we're going to be able to do, and the people we're going to be able to meet, and the people we're going to be able to help. And I wouldn't be able to do any of this without my wife. Obviously, she's been such a tremendous supporter of this, and it's finally starting to come to fruition. So she deserves this as much as anybody does. And obviously, Simon and Chip and Amos is showing up every single week to do this stuff. It takes a toll after a while, and when you're really, really busy, it's hard to come in here and volunteer. Because look, we're not making any money off of this. Hopefully, we can at some point. That's the ultimate goal, and take all of that and be reinvesting it back in our communities, back into our friends and family. So, but when you're not, it's tough to fit in the time. But this past weekend, Chip was phenomenal. Being Libertarian, if you're not following them on any of the social media platforms, I highly recommend going and doing so. They have great content, really funny memes, good videos, good up to date. And each platform, you're going to get a little something different as well. And he represented himself and being libertarian really, really well this weekend in DC. And he did a lot for us and a lot for the show. And I'm not going to forget about that. Because if it wasn't for him, I don't think any of this would have happened this past weekend, with the videographer and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, we had Mike Tomont back on the show, and this is probably our best show with him, despite not having Simon and Amos. We flowed really, really well. It was good to have a familiar face in there. If you hadn't listened to any of our shows with Mike in the past, he was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party this past go round, and he's just a very interesting person, and he's done an awful lot. And this time, after we'd been on the show a couple times together, it was very loose and very fun. We also did a really, really good show with a couple of my friends I went to Iraq with. One of them has never been on the show before, and I thought that show went incredibly well. We had a really good time catching up. It was good to see him again, and good for a couple of us to get back together and tell these stories. Hopefully one day, I would like to do like a documentary, because you want to talk about Appalachia and you want to talk about what it means to be from the mountains. When you put a bunch of guys from moonshine country and a bunch of guys from coal country together and send them to Iraq with just about everything against them, and defy all odds and bring everybody home, everything in between there is just, it's miraculous. And we've done, probably 8 or 9 shows on my time in Iraq before with a multitude of different guests. We've had, of course, some recurring ones, but when you get these new guys in here, you start remembering some things that you didn't before, and you kind of hear their perspective. So appreciate Eric Siglowski for Siggy for coming and hanging out. And obviously Pooh was there again. We had a really good show with that. And then, of course, we had at the very end, we had Eric Brakey and JP Kirby, a couple of different segments, one for each of those. I wish it could have been a little bit better with them. It was the end of the weekend. Everybody was super tired. I think everybody was kind of burnt out and stuff, but he still gave us his time. And I think he's a really interesting guy. He's been Eric, I'm sorry. He's been a senator in the state of Maine. Now he's the head of the Free State Project in New Hampshire, which if you haven't looked that up, I encourage you to. It's really cool idea, and it's really interesting what they're doing up there with trying to turn it into kind of like a libertarian state with moving people into the area. So he's also made some really good arguments before about the libertarians using the GOP as kind of a vessel to get into politics to make things a little bit easier. And he's debated Dave Smith on the topic, and just really interested and intelligent guy. So we had a good time with him. And of course, JP, he was talking about his organization with student rights and things like that. He went to college at Eastern Kentucky. So he's got a lot of Appalachian kind of running through him. He really understands what we're doing, what we're coming from. But, all in all, we had a really good time up there. Thanks again to Chip for putting a lot of that together and being, a big supporter of this show and being somebody that we've, looked towards to kind of guide us in some ways and show us some of the things we need to be doing. And for him, I couldn't tell you how long he's been on now, maybe 6, 7 months, and he was on a handful of times before that. And I've just noticed how good he's got at this. It's not easy to sit in front of a microphone and just start talking. I mean, it sounds easy, but when you're trying to keep your focus and you're trying to keep your thought, and then somebody else is talking and somebody else is talking, you want to get in what you got to say, but there's time constraints and other topics you got to get to, and just jumping in the middle of a conversation with some guys that you haven't really known all your life as well. So just watching him go from where he was at when he first started coming on to now, like he's such an integral part of this show. I don't think we could do it without him anymore. So once again, a big thanks to him for driving us up there and, or driving me up there and getting the videographer and really putting a lot into this show. I think he's been just as big as a part of this as anybody else has. So, and also a big thanks to the people at Students for Liberty at LibertyCon for having us, for Brian Lambrick. Thank you so much for taking care of us and getting us situated with everything. And we had a really good time doing the Jeopardy show. I guess if you want to go back to their website, I'll share it on the next show, but I guess you can go back and watch the live stream. I was expected to answer maybe one question. I was going to get some incredibly talented people, but found out I did pretty good. A couple times I screwed up. Give me a break. It was the end of the night. It was a long day, and I hadn't had a drink in a couple of hours, so my mind wasn't exactly as sharp as it could have been, but I did pretty good, I thought. And it was just a lot of fun. I encourage everybody, look, we're probably going to go back up there again next year. So start marking your calendars for sometime next February, wherever we end up going. It's a really good time. Hopefully we'll have Cornwallis and Abe Lincoln with us again next year, be Simon and Amos. And if we can get a bunch of people from around here to show up, maybe we'll have a big meetup, big shindig. Who knows? But start marking your calendars now. And that way, the next time we go up there, you can know well in advance, and hopefully it'll be a really, really, really good time again. Spike Cohen's another big one. He wasn't able to make it up there this weekend, unfortunately, which, for us, when you're missing Simon and you're missing Amos and now you're missing Spike, somebody who is one of our biggest cheerleaders, our biggest supporters, he kind of nudges people and says, hey, you should go over there and get on that show. We didn't have that. We didn't have his, a lot of his enthusiasm that was greatly missed this past weekend. And, obviously we would have had him on one of our video shows for sure. So we kind of missed out on that. A lot of different moving parts to something we didn't really have the parts for this weekend. But, clean slate next year. Hopefully we'll have everything back together again, all our ducks in a row. Spike will be there. Simon will be there. Amos will be there. Hopefully some of you all will be there. And we'll start promoting it really, really early on and try and get y'all some discounted tickets and see what we can do from that. But yeah, it's been a really tiresome and really long last few weeks. I know, again, Simon is still recovering from the end of his recovery, if that makes any sense, recovering from his recovery. And of course, Amos should be a little bit better with his ribs now. And, here at my household, it seems like everybody has been rotating illnesses for a month and a half, 2 months now. So it's been really difficult all around, but we've somehow managed to do it and pull it off. And can't thank everybody enough that's made that happen. My mother-in-law, that's another big one. She if it wasn't for her, I really don't think this show, or my mom for that matter, both of them, help out with the kids quite a bit when we have to record, and she comes up a little bit early to make sure these things can happen. And I'm excited to talk about all that on our next show for the 200th episode. So I'm thinking about perhaps putting one of the videos up from this past weekend on our Patreon, so you can be the very first to see our very first video cast or pod, whatever you want to call it. But just go to patreon.com/get on tap. It's only $3 a month, minimum, dime a day. You can give a little bit more if you want to. You give as much as you can if you want to. There are people that give more, and we certainly appreciate that. All the guys have been with us forever. Caleb and Bradley Kennett and Blake Holcomb, just to name a few. I know you guys have been with us from the very beginning, and there's so many more out there. We're probably going to try and name every one of you all on the 200th episode, because y'all have been such a huge part, and keeping this thing going. Because, like I said, every little bit helps. So, thinking about maybe tomorrow, you'll probably listen to this. It'll be released on the 12th on a Wednesday, and probably tomorrow night on Wednesday night or Thursday, probably upload one of those videos for you all. I just want to go back, do a little bit of editing and make sure I get all my ducks in a row, because I didn't get the email with the videos until tonight. So I got a little bit of work to do. But check us out at patreon.com/get on tap, and you'll be able to check out that first show. And we'll have some clips up in a couple of weeks as well on all our social medias, which you can find at the Appalachian Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and X, where you can also subscribe for $3 a month. And as we said before, now we got these cameras in here. We're going to start getting these bigger guests, our subscribers, and we announce new guests. You're going to have opportunities to come hang out, listen. Some you might admire greatly, or they might be a favorite athlete of yours or an author. You'll get to come up and listen to them, shake their hand, get an autograph picture, whatever you may be, eat dinner. It'll be very, I don't want to say private. That's kind of a weird term, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Intimate. There you go. Very intimate setting for you, for somebody you rather enjoy. So for all the subscribers, there are good things coming. I know I've been saying that for a while, and we try and get some of you all up there, obviously, when we can, and we have made that happen. But it seems like every time we start thinking about trying to take a step to the next level, something happens, and you can't stop popping out babies. And, unfortunately for Simon, the things he went through last year, but here coming in 2025, I think we're kind of pushing the tough stuff behind us and starting to focus on the new. We got spring coming right around the corner. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be warm. The energy level is going to be up. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. And I just want to thank everybody who has stuck with us this entire time. We certainly appreciate it, and be looking for our show next week, 200th episode, big special. Don't know if we're going to have a guest or not. We might reach out to Henry Law and see if he'd like to come up and talk, but it's going to be, very centered around some stories of what happened a couple weeks ago up here on the mountain with the forest fire. And it's going to be centered around everybody that's helped us along the way, an appreciation show. And I don't know, we'll see how it works out. But thank you so much for being patient with us. Thank you for sticking around, and we will be back next week. And until then, take care.
Signal while changing lanes, they pulled him over, found her cocaine. She said, I love you, yes, I love you forevermore. If you tell that cocaine load is yours, he spent time locked up while she ran around. Everyone knew it, small country town. another low down woman that a man can't trust. They released him, no one was there. Had she forgotten? Did she still care? He called up her mama, Lord, and these words he heard her cry. Lord, that no good daughter of mine spend all your money on cocaine, overdosed and died. Lord, it's ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. In the spring, one sunny day, my good gal left me and she went away. Now she's gone, I don't worry, because I'm sitting